Ever have one of those days where you wake up wanting nothing but peace? Maybe a quiet moment to relax, maybe cast a fishing line into the water and let your mind drift for a while. But instead, someone decides that your happiness is a violation. Well, let me tell you the story of the morning I learned my HOA had officially lost its mind. Because they fined me for fishing. Yes, fishing. And what happened next? Let's just say the HOA had no idea who they were messing with. Because the day they slapped that ticket on my door, the day they tried to embarrass me in front of the whole neighborhood, was the exact day I decided I wasn't just going to fight back. I was going to win so hard they would regret ever spelling the word fine. You want to fine me for fishing? Cool. I'll just buy the entire lake. And when I tell you the neighborhood's reaction was absolutely priceless, oh, you have no idea. So sit back, because this isn't just a story. This is a masterclass in petty revenge, a symphony of justice, and one of the greatest HOA takedowns you're ever going to hear. It started on a calm Saturday morning. The sun was barely rising, and there was a soft silver fog curling across the surface of the neighborhood lake. It was the kind of scene that makes you breathe a little deeper, the kind of morning that reminds you the world is still capable of being beautiful. I grabbed my fishing rod, a coffee, and walked down to the dock that sits behind my backyard. My property literally touches the lake. Water lapping, birds waking up, the quiet kind of peace that feels like medicine. This was my therapy. This was my calm. I threw my line in and just breathed. 5 minutes later, I heard it. That familiar sound, a sharp heel tapping like an angry metronome. I didn't even have to turn my head. There's only one person in my HOA whose existence sounds like a threat. Our HOA president, Patricia. The queen of clipboards, the empress of unnecessary rules, the self-appointed guardian of all things miserable. She marched down the grass like she was the sheriff of a town in an old Western movie. I swear the ducks scattered like they knew trouble was coming. She cleared her throat in that way people do when they're trying to let you know they're important. I kept my eyes on the water and took another sip of coffee. "Good morning, Patricia," I said, without even pretending to be enthusiastic. She didn't even answer the greeting. Instead, she snapped, "You can't fish here." I blinked once, slowly. "What?" "This lake is common property," she announced, standing stiff like she was delivering a national security warning. "Fishing is not allowed without HOA approval." "Since when?" I asked. I had lived there for 3 years, fished at least twice a week. No one had ever said a single word. "We voted on it during last month's board meeting," she said. "Fishing encourages gatherings." She said the word like it meant crime. "People might leave trash, attract wildlife, or create noise." "Patricia," I said, trying very hard not to laugh, "it's 6 in the morning. The only wildlife here is wildlife, and the only noise is you." She didn't like that. Her jaw tightened. "This is a rule, and rules must be enforced." I looked back at the water, offering her the same amount of respect she had given me. "None." "Well, I'm going to keep fishing." She gasped, physically offended. "If you do not stop immediately, I will issue a fine." "Patricia," I said gently, "with all due respect, you issue fines for breathing too loudly. If I paid every fine you invented, I'd be broke." Her eyes narrowed like I'd thrown a personal insult at her bloodline. "You will receive a fine. Expect the notice today." I smiled. "I'll look forward to it." She stomped away so aggressively that 2 geese looked personally traumatized. I forgot about it until that afternoon when I found it taped to my front door like a scarlet letter. Violation. Unauthorized fishing. Fine? $250. $250 for putting a fishing line in a lake behind my own house. I laughed hard because this was beyond stupid. This was Olympic-level pettiness. But annoyance started simmering inside me. You want to fine me for fishing? For using the lake I live next to? And then something in me clicked. Something quiet but powerful. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to complain. I was going to fix the problem permanently. So I did something most people don't do when the HOA annoys them. I did research, real research, property records, ownership documents, water rights, public accessibility. I learned something interesting. The lake wasn't owned by the HOA. They didn't even lease it. It was technically owned by a private management company that acquired it decades ago when the land was developed. And here was the best part. The lake was on the list of unused assets. The price? Not cheap, but not impossible. I stared at that listing like fate had hand-delivered me a gift with a bow on top. I made a call. 2 weeks later, after paperwork, meetings, and a very delightful conversation with a representative who was shocked someone wanted to purchase a standalone man-made lake, the lake was mine. The entire lake. I didn't tell a single person. Not my neighbors, not the HOA, not even my friends. I waited. Patiently. The next HOA meeting rolled around a few weeks later. I don't usually go, but this time I walked in early, took a seat, and waited. Patricia saw me and smirked like she expected me to beg for mercy or negotiate the fine. She cleared her throat and said, "I assume you are here to discuss your unpaid violation."
Leaned back calmly. "Actually, I'm here to discuss the lake." She raised an eyebrow. "The lake?" "Yes," I said, folding my hands, "because I have concerns about how the HOA has been misrepresenting ownership of it." People murmured. She straightened her papers sternly. "Ownership isn't misrepresented. It's common property, controlled by the HOA." I smiled. "That's incorrect," she scoffed, annoyed that I dared to challenge her. "And how exactly would you know that?" "Because," I said, pulling out a folder and setting it neatly on the table, "I own the lake." Silence. Not quiet, not surprised, dead silence. Someone actually dropped a pen. Patricia laughed, but it came out shaky. "Very funny." I slid the official deed toward her. Not a joke. Watching her face drain of color was one of the greatest moments of my life. She read the documents once, twice, a third time, like she was hoping the words would rearrange themselves into a reality she liked better. People leaned in, whispering, "Is he serious? Wait, what? How is that possible?" Finally, she looked up, voice thin. Why would you buy the lake?" I leaned forward, matched her eye contact, and said softly, "To solve my fishing problem." The room reacted like a live studio audience hearing the perfect punchline. Gasps, laughter, shock, every emotion you can imagine. Patricia, though, she was crumbling internally. You can't just ban the neighborhood from the lake." "Oh," I said, "I absolutely can." People turned to me, wide-eyed, waiting for what came next. "So here's what's going to happen. Starting tomorrow morning, the lake is private property. To access it, including walking on the shore, fishing, kayaking, taking photos, letting your dog sniff near it, you'll need written permission. And guess what? I'm not granting any." Someone in the back burst out laughing. Not a small laugh, a full, I can't breathe explosion of joy. Patricia's hands were shaking. This is harassment." "This is," I said, lifting her fine from my pocket, "a response." People clapped, like genuinely clapped in the middle of the meeting. Neighbors who had been fined for stupid things, leaving a trash bin out for 10 minutes, having a garden gnome that was too whimsical, parking with one tire touching their own lawn, looked like they had just watched justice descend from the heavens. After the meeting, people swarmed me. Some were thrilled, some just stunned. One guy asked if I could build a fence to keep Patricia away forever. And the next morning, watching HOA board members stand at the edge of the grass, staring at the lake like it had betrayed them, priceless. Signs went up. Private property, trespassing prohibited. Some neighbors took photos. Some laughed. Some brought popcorn. Not kidding. Patricia stormed to my door 2 days later. "You need to undo this," she demanded. I opened the door slowly. Patricia, trust me. What I need and what you want have never been the same. She glared. You don't understand the consequences. Oh, I do. You find me for fishing, I'll build a dock. You yell at me for enjoying my backyard, I'll turn the lake into the one place you can't go. Every action has consequences. She stepped back, speechless, for once. Later that week, the HOA tried to send me a letter, claiming they had authority over all bodies of water within the community. My lawyer sent them a friendly response. No, you don't. And that was the end of that. And the best part? Once people realized the lake was off limits, the HOA lost one of its biggest excuses for issuing petty violations. No more, your fishing equipment is visible. No more, your kayak violates color guidelines. No more, your dock is a gathering hazard. Their power shrank overnight. Meanwhile, I fished. Oh, I fished a lot. Peacefully. Happily. Without Patricia's heels tapping behind me like a malfunctioning woodpecker. And the neighborhood? Their resentment wasn't toward me. It was towards the HOA. My actions weren't seen as hostility. They were seen as poetic justice. The HOA pushed too far. They turned peace into punishment. And when you push a reasonable person too far, sometimes they push back. Owning that lake wasn't about pettiness. It wasn't about revenge. Well, maybe a little. But mostly it was about proving a point. When someone tries to abuse their authority long enough, eventually people stop cooperating. And here's the wild thing. Over time, the neighborhood started waking up. Members who never questioned the HOA before started attending meetings. People voted out board members. They demanded transparency. They forced rule changes. And a few months later, Patricia resigned. She didn't announce it with her usual dramatic speeches. She slipped away quietly, like a balloon losing air. As for me, I still fish. Every week. Peacefully. No fines. No drama. Just water, mist, and the soft sounds of nature. Exactly the way I wanted in the first place. Sometimes justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's not violent or dramatic. Sometimes justice is as simple as buying a lake just to make a point. Because when someone tries to control your peace, take back the whole shoreline. And if there's one thing I've learned from this entire ordeal, it's this. Never underestimate the quiet person minding their own business. Because once you disturb their peace, you might just hand them the motivation they need to flip the entire script. So the next time an HOA decides to flex their power where it doesn't belong, they might want to remember this story. Because if they push the wrong person, that person might just buy the lake